Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, let's see if I'm just trying to make sure everybody's on mute. Okay. We finished verse 21 of chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita last time. And verse 21 talked about, the self-realized person, how he finds happiness in the self and he's unattached to the external contacts and all that. And he's engaged in meditation of Brahman and he attains endless happiness. And we had discussed how it, since Brahman is infinite, he also gets infinite happiness. So that's where we were last time. And so now we'll go to the next one. So I guess Krishna Bhagwan realized that, hey, that's a very, very high goal. Not everybody, us are there yet. So he probably had some compassion in his heart for Arjun and all of us too. कि भाई, अभी वो self-realized person तो ये सब करता है पर हम तो अभी नहीं है तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं, basically, So he's giving. Krishna Bhagwan is always very, very kind and compassionate. So he gives all kind of yuktis that how we can proceed from where we are. So he gives a very good tool to develop vairagya, vairagya from the world. And vairagya, we have discussed very deeply about it before. Vairagya is not running away from it, but knowing the nature of the world and not getting attached to it. That's what the main thing is, mentally not getting attached. So keep that theme in mind, and then we'll go to verse 22. I'm going to chant. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. Ye is which he is verily sansparshja, contact born. When the sense organs come in contact with sense objects, उसके contact से जो खुशी मिलती है उसके बारे में है. That's why this word sansparshja, bhogaha, enjoyments. Dukkha yonayah, generation of pain. Yoni means womb, so it's a womb of pain. Eva is only, te is they, adyantavant, adi or ant jiska hota hai, having beginning and end. Kaunteya is O Kaunteya, ta is not, teshu in those, ramate rejoices, buddha the wise. So let's see what he's saying over here. He's basically saying that when we come in contact with our sense organs, with sense objects, we get some enjoyment, but that enjoyment is not long lasting at all. And actually it is a womb of pain only. End mein pain hi milta hai. And we thoda sa we are touch upon it, and let's open it up a little bit more with all the different swamis, how they opened it up and brought out many points. So now you saw that he talked about the highest situation when somebody self-realized how he manages. But what he's telling us is, he's reminding us that the happiness or the little joys that we get in the outside world, it's not really a joy, because in the end it becomes a source of unhappiness. And why does that happen though? So let's look at a little bit of science behind it. It's saying that because suppose we found some joy in something, our mind gets attached to it, and we want to repeat it, you know. And the more we want to do that, we actually get bound and addicted to it, you know. And because of that, we fail to take our attention within. And for the spiritual journey, we got to withdraw and take it within, right? So by getting attached to the outside things, we fail to do that because we get sucked into that. One second. So he was just saying, this Nikhilanandji was saying, sometime when we sit in meditation, so, like our mind starts running a little bit. Then it wants to think this, that. Aankhein to band kar li, but, that other organs, उसमें से कुछ आवाज आ रही है, कुछ सुगंध आ रही है, खाने की, or anything can happen. And then तुम्हारा, and then you get this intense desire to open your eyes in the beginning of meditation. And then he was joking. He's saying, you open your eye and the other person is having the same problem. So he also opens his eye, you also open the eye, you look at each other and you smile and you say, Acha, tum bhi, you also can. I thought that was so funny. You're saying you have a smile of understanding. So we all have experienced those kind of things. So obviously those kind of things happen because we have not established कि भाई बाहरी संसार में, जो भी सुख मिलता है, it ends in sorrow. We have not contemplated upon that. So I think when we study the scriptures and, hear all the satsang and all that, and then we contemplate, investigate, and then we understand where the happiness lies, true happiness lies, where we have this Atma, Anatma, Vivek, they call it, what is real and what is not real. And then that's how you slowly develop the Vairagya. It is not going to certainly come just like that. So he's saying it's almost like Bhagwan is showing to see dosh drishti in it, because it is not a kind of a permanent solution to see the dosh drishti in it, because permanently to when somebody gets totally established in that Brahman, then that's the only time he's going to have a complete detachment in his mind. But this is a tool that, remember this, that, and he gave an example, Nikhilanandji gave an example. He's saying it's like you are eating a kheer और उसमें कोई गंदा वाला कीड़ा ऐसे कोई गिर जाए, So then you see the dosh, I don't want that. It's not a permanent solution because you don't want that kheer, maybe you want some other kheer, but at least that time you will not take it. So if you remember in the world that, when you get all these sukh, that, hey, this is, it is like temporary and in the end it's going to give me pain. So you see the dosha, then you have a good chance of developing vairagya and starting from there. That's the whole idea. And another thing that he said in this verse is that whatever you come in contact with your sense organs, with the sense object, uska hamesha beginning or end hota hai. Like even anything you see in the world, people get attached to places and people, and sometimes you have to move, or people, like there is one saying, very famous one, that every relationship have an expiry date. I know it sounds cruel, but, when one of us, when we die, even our partners, it's like, that's a truth. Because when we are doing satsang, we have to be very truthful and very, we can't say goody stuff. We have to say the truth. So, in other words, this sentence that, hey, uska beginning or end hai duniya mein. That's why you don't want to get attached to it. And then the other very important thing he pointed out, which we don't think about, he's saying that when we, derive this pleasure and all that from these things, then when that thing goes away, because it was going to end hota hai na, like beginning and end, like we talked about. He said that it creates a vacuum in our mind. See, हम लोग सोचते नहीं है कि it's a vacuum. That's why there is a word called boredom. Oh, I'm so bored. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Where is that boredom coming from? Because vacuum is created in your mind because you are attached to something and that thing has gone away and you don't have it. So then the nature of this thing outside is, with the joys outside it, that we just want to repeat it. But another defect in it is that after a while you don't find the same joy in the same thing. Like sometime when we were younger, we bought a new car. How much attached we are to it and all that, and बहुत शुरू में इतना joy मिल रहा है उसमें, later on you don't care about it. So kind of a diminishing happiness happens. And then we discussed that about drishtant about some food, laddu. I love laddu so much, and I eat one, I feel very happy. I eat two, I feel double happy. And then if I keep eating, my thing will go down, then turn into pain. I might get into physical pain also and disgust in my mind also. So that's what it is. Problem with that dosh is there. And the other thing is that you get dependent on it. And any time, according to the saints and sages, there is a dependency on anything. It could be object, person, or place. It guaranteed sorrow when you're dependent on something. Because that thing is not completely reliable, right? So, so many factors are there. Oh, I want to repeat the same experience. And it doesn't happen. And it sometimes it's happened with vacation places also. Some place we go, oh, I loved it so much. A family member, everybody loved it. And then you go second time to the same place. You say, hey, last time to bahut maza aaya tha, is baar kya ho gaya? See, we have all experienced that kind of thing. On the same restaurant. Oh, this is my favorite restaurant. You go there a couple of times, and after fifth or sixth time, it's like, I don't want to go there anymore. So, because there's so many factors, your mind has to be quiet and everything has to be conducive and all, and that it doesn't happen. And the other thing that Nikhilananji reminded everybody, that we think that we are getting that pleasure outside, but actually that pleasure itself is an illusion. And because the definition of illusion is that which was not there before, that which is not going to be there later, it come temporary appearance, jiska hua hai, that thing is not real. So from that kind of wisdom also, that joy is short term. And, any of these things that you cannot give you lasting joy, like we talked about object, relationship, or places, So that's why, because of all these factors that we discuss, the wise people, according to Krishna in this verse, the wise people do not revel in this kind of joy. And who are those wise people? Who have followed the path of karma yoga, who have gained, some kind of intellectually knowledge of the self, what Brahman is and all that. They don't revel in this worldly pleasure. And the other point, he said that to progress in the spiritual life, unless we give up the lower, we cannot go to the higher. It's like climbing a ladder. When we climb a ladder, we give up the lower steps, then we go to the higher steps. So this is what it is, that, unless we drop this, we won't learn to withdraw. Because that's the main idea, that, withdraw. And then, I don't know if you have heard of this drishtant. It's like a little bit like a joke also, but that gives a very good point. That it seems that, one person told one saint that, wow, you are so great. You gave up all the worldly things, to get the infinite. And the saint said, no, I think you are greater than me. Because you actually gave up the infinite to get the finite stuff, You gave up that higher to get the finite. So, basically that's what it is, that, hey, we have to think that what I am gaining, I feel like I'm giving up something, but actually I'm not. That's what the point is trying to say, that the gains are so big on the other side that once we get convinced about those things, then we will not be attached. So basically those are the points in this. Anybody has any comment, question? Want to add anything? Whatever we discussed?
Just a question, maybe, Umaji, because what I've heard before was that whatever pleasure you get, it is temporary, true, but it is the same satisfaction or pleasure that is there in you, which is permanent. But it is temporary, it's short lived, it is small. Let's put it that way. So if I am on the path and if I see that, okay, it is giving me pleasure, I know it's temporary, but at the moment, I can enjoy that moment and yet not say, oh, it's going to be painful later, but enjoy knowing fully well that it is temporary and it's not going to last. But here, when I read it, I felt like he's saying, no, it's going to give me pain. But if I can say to myself, it is small, it's short lived. Let me enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I think I understand. I understand what you're saying. If you have that kind of deep understanding of what you just said, then there is no problem at all. He's talking about those people who believe that there is a problem. There is a pleasure outside only. They have not yet learned to turn inward. उनके लिए ये एक युक्ति बताइए. If you are already beyond that, if you already know, if somebody knows, if I'm getting some pleasure in something, and I know that the actual pleasure is in my own mind from my own self, and this is just reflecting through that, and I'm still remembering God in it, there is no problem. Because I know the nature of the world. So I will not get attached. But somewhere when I'm not convinced and I still feel, नहीं दुनिया में तो बहुत मजा है, उन लोगों के लिए कहा गया है कि एंड में तुमको दुखी मिलने वाला है वहां पे. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know this, right? Even if you sincerely do your own inquiry, that whatever is out there, one day it's going to end.
Yeah.
And once you end, it is going to give you dukh. कोई भी चीज एंड होती है तो हमें दुख होता ही है. तो बट अगर विवेक ऑलरेडी जाग गया है आपका, that's why remember we had a discussion last week that the people who are totally self-realized, they enjoy the world the most because they look at it as a sport. So that's why they enjoy it. हम लोग को लगता है कोई चीज है तो वो बनी रहे बस, relationships and all. And right now, whatever stage of life we are in, physical comforts and all the homes and car, all of things we have. Now it's more relationships, that, oh my God, but first we were good friends and now we are not, or, family, maybe there are, tussles happen and all that. And then we get so upset. But if we keep, hey, these are changing things also, So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, because I just felt when it said painful, and I said, no, it doesn't have to be painful. You can enjoy the moment. That's what once I read it, that's how I felt.
I would say painful is only when you do anything in excess. Then it becomes painful. If you do everything in moderation, then you can enjoy. Like if you're drinking too much, then, it is harmful. The same thing, you're expecting too much from any relationship, then it becomes, painful. So, see the balanced approach.
More knowledge sinks in deeper, then you can enjoy and it will not be painful, because it's like, example is a child playing with bubbles, or balloons. Balloons is a very good example. The child, when the balloon bursts, the child cries. Adults don't cry, because they know that's the nature of the balloon, right? It's popped. So adult doesn't mean that adult is not going to enjoy that. He'll enjoy knowing fully well it's going to burst, right? Mm-hmm. But so he's talking about those people over here, उनके लिए painful हो जाता है, जो सोचते हैं कि उसी में सुख है बस.
Okay.
So so if you have that knowledge that the sukh is temporary, go ahead and enjoy, no problem. Then you won't cry when it is gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
Okay. Sometimes the examples really click.
Thank you.
Prabhakarji, you have a point?
I just want to take the other side of what Meena ji said. Something is painful. You're attached, something is painful. But the point is, if you were to think that this is temporary, the painfulness is temporary, and then move on. Just don't get attached to that painful incident which will bother your mind for so many days or so many weeks. But the point is that once you recognize that even there is a painful incident, when you don't get attached to that painful incident, move away from that. Does it sound the same way, like what here in this shloka says?
So I think that this shloka is pointing out more to the fact that just try to understand that whatever pleasure you get in the outside world through the contact of senses,
Okay.
those that have beginning and the end. And fortunately, unfortunately, everything that we come in contact with the world, with the relationship, places, people, situation, is through our five senses.
Correct.
That's what they're pointing out. That try to keep that knowledge in you. जब बोलते हैं ना कि वो एक कबीर का दोहा बहुत फेमस है, दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे न कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे दुख काहे का होए. When you feeling happy, just tell yourself, hey, if it is worldly context से हो रहा है, it is temporary. ज़्यादा उछलने की जरूरत नहीं है. That's all it is. दुख and जब भी दुख आएगा, then you can say the same thing. What you are saying, Prabhakar ji, it does have a very good value because when you dukh aayega, to you can say, hey, like it's temporary. So that's why they say कि dukh and sukh, they are like आना जाना चलता ही रहता है. Whether you are a saint or a sinner, that does not matter. That's all. So there are many different angles you can catch this. But the main points are anything that we in the world we indulge with, it has a beginning and the end. And you are actually trying to meditate upon that infinite. And once you get more and more established in that, your happiness will be more steady within. That's all it's saying. And we can read Swamiji's commentary also. There may be some more points in there, that's any other person? Okay. Let's see, who has a blue book? Sheila ji, you want to read?
Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The enjoyments that are born of contact are only generators of pains, for they have beginning and an end. O son of Kunti, the wise do not rejoice in them. Not only that, we should try to get ourselves detached from the external contacts in order to enjoy the infinite bliss, which is the nature of self. But even an average intelligent man, if he cares to investigate his own experiences with the outer world, he should discover all by himself. That by hunting among the finite objects is no profitable preoccupation. Occupation. The law of diminishing utility works in all experiences, and the very thing that gave a certain satisfactory unit of joy in the beginning itself soon become a stinging putrefying pit of sorrow. The experiences with the first laddu and the 25th laddu, when we are not hungry, are a practical demonstration of this fundamental truth, that synonymous joys are doomed to pain from the very beginning.
Yeah, so it says the sensuous joys are doomed. Sensuous means the sense organs when it come in contact with the.
Senses.
That reminded me, there was one Swami who said, there was a young man, he got a new job and with some nice pay and all, and he came and told Swamiji, because he had worldly desires, Swamiji, bless me that, I get a Mercedes and all that. So, okay, bless you. तो जाके Mercedes खरीद ली. फिर 3 महीने के बाद वो वापस आया तो बोला कैसी चली है तेरी Mercedes? बोला नहीं, प्लीज ब्लेस मी कि मैं उसको बेच दूँ. कोई आ जाए ले जाए. It has become such a pain, because I'm all the time worried I can't sleep, and the oil change is so expensive, and when I park, I'm worried that people are going to hit it and all that. दुखी हो गया वो एकदम. बोला मेरी वो पुरानी कार ही ठीक थी. That's what it is, that we think that, these things are going to give me so much joy. Finally we realize it's not as great as we think. So just let it pass. I think that's what they're trying to tell you. Yeah, go ahead. Sheila.
Should I read? Mm-hmm. Okay. The sense objects are only be beautiful and joyous as a leporous whore painted, powdered and dressed up to smile at stranger in the dark alleys of a dilapidated commercial town. Lord Krishna beautifully brings out this idea when he points out to Arjuna how sense objects and their joys, being finite in nature, do not enchant a wise man.
So, Swamiji takes very strong examples, So he took this example, like some prostitute dressed up, in the alley and all that. But actually, it is like not so great as you think. So that's what he's saying. Basically, the message over here is the sense orbit and their joy is being finite in nature. That's what it is. When you want the infinite, there's no comparison to it. That's what it is, that, it doesn't enchant a wise man, because he has already kind of, contemplated upon what is finite and what is infinite. It's like the example that we give, hey, if I'm getting $1 billion, why should I worry about $5 then? So that's what it is. He's going for the big bucks.
Man, if he is wise, is satisfied only with the infinite. Finite things can only burn us with hopes of getting a more satisfactory joy and whip us along with the path of sensuousness, making us a pant in a sheer execution, hunting for a complete satisfaction. From dish to dish, from gutter to gutter, the chaster, the fuller, and the diviner joy is gained only when he become to experience the self as explained in the previous mantra.
So this we discussed that, one of the problems with the finite joy is that we get addicted to it, we get attached to it, we want more and more, and we get dependent. All those negative things that are attached with the joy, if you just revel in it, that's what it is. But with understanding, if you, like what Meenaji was saying, that doesn't mean that, we should completely shun the world. That's not what they're talking about. Whatever it is you enjoy, but fully knowing that it is temporary, then you are okay. Basically that's the message.
Maybe you can also say you don't go hunting for joy.
That's another very good point. True. Sometimes, like some people believe जो तुम्हारे प्रारब्ध में है ना वो आ ही जाएगा, तो उसके लिए बहुत ज्यादा खटपट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Reasonable amount of effort is fine, but some people go like out of their way to do things and all that. You don't need to. Even that is a very good point. Just have a relaxed life. Here, Shireen, you're saying something? Unmute. Yeah. What were you saying?
If it is meant to be, it will be.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I believe in that. It just comes. I don't know.
And there is enough of it comes too, right?
I don't know. If there's enough by everybody too.
Yeah. And like we said, that it's not going to be like always, sometimes good things come, sometimes bad things come. But if you बोलते हैं ना कि to have equanimity of mind to handle both. That's what you have to develop. That's all.
The best thing is not to get attached to it, because there's always a change,
Yes.
good and bad, because night and day,
Exactly.
sunshine, it's all circle, we are going in circles. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well put.
There's one more paragraph in my.
Yeah. Go ahead and read that. Connects to the next one.
Yeah. And there's also a wicked thing, an enemy on the path of bliss, a most difficult thing to deal with, the source of all evil, every difficult to ward off, every mighty effort should be made. Faith the Lord to repel this enemy.
So he's talking about the next verse. So we'll discuss in a few minutes. But any other point anybody wants to make about this? We hashed it out, all the different points, right? Okay, so the next verse, this is very similar verse to what we did in chapter 3 when he said, don't come under the sway of likes and dislikes. Everybody remembers that? It's not like we can get rid of likes and dislikes. We will have them until we get self-realized we are going to have it, But, and even the self-realized person, bodily, he might have likes and dislikes, but he doesn't come under the sway of it. Here he's talking about Kam and Krodh. Okay? Kam and Krodh, they are like, if you don't control your likes and dislikes, they turn into Kam and Krodh. And we will get more. So he's reminding us, okay, like Krishna Bhagwan is very kind, as I said. First he gives the highest, then he brings a little down, and then he gives different yuktis. Okay, I know, Arjun, you're not there yet. And so as all of us are in the same boat. I will give you more points to contemplate upon. And if you can't do A, do B. If you can't do B, you do C, or you can do little bit of everything. All of that will help us. So this is another verse. He's going to give pointers to help us. So let's see what it is. We do have some time, so we will continue with this next verse.
Mani, somewhere I read this thing that why people go after sensuous pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
The reason given was that because gratification is immediate.
True.
Whereas for the other things, it takes time. So that's why most of us, we go after that.
True.
Sensuous pleasures.
That's another point, yes. And it is one of those things, Shreyas and Preyas wo aa jata hai. Do you want lasting, infinite happiness, or you want immediate gratification? And, but then immediate gratification is going to turn into sorrow. So it's like, take your pick, So exactly, and वो बड़ी famous कहानी है ना इंडिया में, सोने के अंडे देने वाली मुर्गी. That fits in over here for what you're saying. कि भाई रोज एक अंडा देगी तो you will have every day, but इसे मैं सारे अंडे एक साथ ले लूँ तो उसने मार ही दिया उसको. So that's what it is. That hey, do you want infinite or you want finite? But take a pick. Immediate gratification or long term. True. Very true. Shall I go to the next one? Okay, so it's verse 23. Shaknoti haiva yasodum prakshariri vimokshanat kama krododbhavat vegam sayukta sasukhi naraha. Shaknoti is able, iha, here, in this world, esha, even, yaha, who, sodum, to withstand, prak, before, sharir vimokshanat, liberation from the body, kama krodh udbhavam, born of desire and anger, vegam, the impulse, sa, he, yukta, united, sa is again he, sukhi is happy, nara is man. So here Krishna Bhagavan is literally stepping one more step down and saying, I'll give you another point. And he recognizes that we are not there yet. We are still attached to our body. We kind of have the knowledge of intellectual knowledge of what Brahman is, but we have not finished our journey to be established in it. And we do get attacked by Kam and Krodh. Okay? Okay, fine. If it does come in your heart and mind and senses and all that, and हमने उसका पूरा science देखा था earlier, ladder of fall and all that, in chapter 2. How should I manage it? If I'm able to withstand and, I'm able to control it from bursting out, I still am a yukta person. Something like that he's saying. And we will see that how different swamis, brought different points. So basically it is like what it is that person is sukhi who can bear or withstand disturbances that come from Kam and Krodh. So basically, like I said, exactly the similar kind of point that don't come under the sway of likes and dislikes. Here is saying don't come under the sway of Kam and Krodh before the body is dropped. Means before you die, if you can manage to rise above this, you are already very advanced. That's what he's saying, that you are a yukta person. So basically what he's trying to tell us is that be alert. And Kam and Krodh, so let's see the definition, what it is. Kam is Shankaracharya ji ne ye definition ko diya hai. It is something like this, that something gave me pleasure, and now afterwards when I hear about it, I think about it, I remember it or see it, I want to repeat that experience. That wanting to repeat it is called Kam. Okay? And so what happens is that if you don't control that Kam at that point, it turns into craving, trishna, thirst, intense desire, jisko bolte hain. If like our teacher used to say, if you have some ordinary desire and you can fulfill it easily, there's no problem in that. But when that desire becomes obsessive, that without this I cannot live, and I'm thinking about it day and night, and while sleeping I can't sleep because I'm thinking about it to either get it or change it or something. Any kind of desire can be anything. Hey, this person needs to behave this way, or I want to change this situation, or I want this object. All of that comes under that definition of desire. So he's saying that when it becomes into a craving, that's when it becomes destructive. And Krodh, there are two aspects of it. One is that we have discussed that if I have a desire and anything that comes in between me and my desire turns into anger. So whenever you get an anger, if you have remember Vedanta, it is my own desire that causing me to be angry. It is when we say, oh, the other person made me angry. Hello, no. According to Vedanta, that's not true. Nobody can make you do anything. It is your own way of thinking is making you angry, So that is one. And then the Krodh can come in a like rag and dvesh situation also. Like when you have rag, when you have a liking for something, then it is goody stuff, and you get attached to it. And Krodh can come when I don't want something. This thing has to go away, or, something like that. That also can turn into Krodh. So that's why Kam and Krodh can be both the things, that hey, my obstacle is my desire, or if I dislike something too much, So when those things come in my mind, if I don't come under his sway, then I'm wise and I can be happy. So what Nikhilananji reminded everybody, that truly it goes away only on self-realization. But a seeker, which all of us are in that category, what we need to remember when Kam and Krodh comes to us, when you start seeing a little effect of it, hey, it's coming in my mind, he's saying, don't lose sight of your goal. That's what, if you open up this verse, that's what it means. Keep the goal in your mind, and if an intense desire come, try to dissipate it with understanding, Don't respond to it, Don't get carried away by it. And that's what he was trying to say. Because until we are enlightened, you can escape this. That's the truth. Like there was a little drishtant that one chela asked his guru, hey, you're so shant. Have you overcome anger? He's saying, I'll tell you later. And then when he was on his deathbed, then he said, yes, now I can believe that I've overcome. Because it's saying, hey, I maybe consider myself as a saint, but you never know. And what Nikhilananji was saying, as long as we are identified with the body, even though we intellectually know, that Brahman is there and all, but we know that we are still not completely detached with our body, mind, and intellect. Those things are going to be there, and you don't know when it's going to strike you. It doesn't come like invited, it just happens, That's what he was saying, that if we know that, but if we keep our eyes on the goal, then those, thoughts of desire, jealousy, anger, which are all connected, with the desire only, all these things, they will not shake you from your path. So he actually said, suppose if you are sitting in meditation or you're doing japa and you are angry, saying, don't give up that. ठीक है करते जाओ फिर भी गुस्सा रहे तो भी just giving some tips he's saying that so ये intense वेग को जो kind of सह लेता है ना और उसको carried away नहीं होता, that person is, the word is used as yuktah. Yukta means it's like a yogi. He's the person who will be happy still. And we know that once we have this, even if I'm very angry, and if I learn to be quiet, then I feel I have to give a pat on my back, right? I was so angry, but I dissolved it. And later on, when you realize, how I was angry for such a stupid thing, it didn't even matter. But I didn't lash out, So our teacher in Houston used to say, zip your lips, don't say it. Because we always, whenever we are angry, we say things that we always regret, So if we can overcome, that also is a great thing. So basically, he talked in these 2 verses, he talked about the vairagya, how to gain that, and how to overcome calm and krodh. And that will help us in our path. And then after that, he's going to talk about other verses. He's going to talk about briefly about meditation, because he's going to describe a little bit about meditation, because 6th chapter is coming now soon, which is going to be completely detailed on meditation. So he's preparing. So these are all preparatory things to do before you connect to the higher. Because if we prematurely try too hard, then we will be wasting a lot of time. Like I said, no, हम लोग बैठेंगे, फिर हमारी आँख खुलेगी, फिर हम सोचेंगे यहाँ वहाँ, So he's just removing all those, making our mind relatively purer, actually. That's what the whole idea is. Okay, any question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything? Shall we read Swamiji's commentary? Anilji, you want to read?
He who is able, while still here in this world, to withstand, before the liberation from the body, death, the impulse born out of desire and anger, he is a yogi, he is a happy man. Krishna himself feels that his over-enthusiastic description of the perfect man in his mental life may give to any reader a despairing sense of impossibility or futility. No one living the present life of agitations can ever dare to hope that such a perfect happiness is ever possible for a mortal living upon this ever-spinning globe. If a philosophy is only an idealism which has no contact with the practical world, that philosophy is merely utopian poetic fit for entertaining a pleasant idea, but never capable of making man a nobler being.
So everybody understood. Swamiji is saying Krishna Bhagavan is very kind to everybody. He realizes that everybody is not there yet. And, these things do happen to people. So he's giving you another way to manage with it. That's what he's saying. Another way to think. Huh?
In order to remove that misunderstanding, Krishna in this stanza gives the assurance that man is capable of living that perfect joy in this very world if only he makes the necessary adjustments in himself.
So that's a very well put by Swamiji, right? You're making adjustment in your personality to be happy. The person who जो चुप रहता है क्रोध में भी और उसको डिसॉल्व कर लेता है वो सुखी है. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, because when we get angry, it hurts us only. The other person may even forget about it. Don't even care. And you are burning.
And it's a process that you have to practice slowly and slowly.
Yes, exactly. So he's giving very good tools.
Yeah. My great-grandfather was a great violinist. His violin was preserved and worshipped in my house until now. I too have now gained a preliminary nodding acquaintance with music. Suddenly an idea struck me. Why not take my great-grandfather's instrument and play upon it and thus become a great musician overnight? If I play directly upon that ancient and faithful instrument, I will be forced to break it into pieces. For that violin, in that condition, cannot give me perfect music. It needs general cleaning and dusting, perhaps restringing and a lot of tuning up. When these adjustments are made, then only can it faithfully give out all the notes, implicitly obeying the strokes of my bow and the tickling of my finger. In the same fashion today, our mind and intellect, the instruments of singing the song of perfection, neglected from beginningless time, need a lot of adjustments before they can gurgle up their contents of laughter and joy.
What a beautiful example he gave, right? Beautiful example. And another important thing when I was reading this, neglected from beginningless time. So it's like, hey, it has इतना कूड़ा कचरा भरा हुआ है इतने सारे जन्मों का, वो 1 मिनट में तो सब ठीक नहीं हो जाएगा, but he's giving you tips, So we have to have patience also, I guess.
So this is the kuda and kachra of all our past lives.
Yes, absolutely. It is a kuda kachra of all our past lives. And that's why you never know when it strikes, because पता नहीं कौन सा impression कब गिरा हुआ है अपने दिमाग में, and all that.
Right.
But there is a way out, and I think the most important thing to me is we don't need to copy anybody. We need to just compete with ourselves. Hey, I used to be like, पहले मेरा गुस्सा मेरे नाक पे ही धरा रहता था. अभी I've become more tolerant. And then you take it from there, because each person has different life and different situation. What are their triggers and things like that. As long as you feel like you are improving, all the landmarks are given by Krishna Bhagavan, that, hey, if you can overcome this, if I'm overcoming better than before, then I've made progress. Then continue on that, Yeah.
It's the same as cleaning the violin. You got to clean it slowly and slowly.
Yeah.
Tune it.
Yeah, or if you think कि 1 मिनट में उसमें से इतना अच्छा म्यूजिक आने लगेगा, like if I sit in meditation, मैं तो पहुंच जाऊंगी वहां ऊपर, that's not gonna happen. You gotta adjust first before you want the music. Yeah.
I just want to say that if we know that the karma and krodha are going to come, if there is a lag period between coming and knowing, then one can say that, okay, I will adjust myself and then try to be as peaceful as possible. Sometimes the anger comes very suddenly. It does not give you.
Oh, your voice suddenly dropped. I cannot hear actually. Can everybody hear Prabhakar ji?
No.
Prabhakar ji, all of a sudden your voice stopped. No, we can't hear you. I don't know what happened. You were saying so beautifully and boom, suddenly we couldn't hear you. Sorry, I know these are the difficulties of Zoom, I guess. But I can hear you, but I think that, what you are, I'm just discussing what I don't know what else we can do. We got the point, right? He's saying it suddenly comes. I was just thinking about it. If we remind ourselves a little bit. See, there are certain times, the same thing we get krodh. At least that we can work on with our spouse or some family member. कि ये ऐसा करेगा तो क्रोध आता है मुझे. Then we can work on that krodh. Hey, next time if they do that, I'm not going to do it. That's one point. And to me, another very powerful practice is if krodh is my problem, okay? Every morning when I pray, I should pray to God. Hey, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be like this. Then he will give you maybe some warning before. And we one thing we know, Prabhakar ji, जब गुस्सा आता है ना तो मेन प्रॉब्लम होता है फैमिलीज में we say things that we can जब पहले पता चल जाता है कि क्रोध आ रहा है हम फिर निकलती है वाणी उस पे भी हम लोग थोड़ा कर सकते हैं नियंत्रण after we read all these things because hey my goal is like something higher. That's why I don't want to indulge in this. So we can create that little gap with our buddhi little bit,
Yeah, anger management may also they say that first you analyze yourself. Why are you getting angry? What what is the situation that is triggering me, and what is the so can you? Of course, you can't change a situation, but you can at least control your emotions. That you're not going to get upset. I mean, you know your trigger points. If you know that, then you won't get angry. Yeah.
In Western world, they have places. A lot of crockery. You go to that room and keep throwing it. Take out your anger.
I think it's better than crockery is the punching bag. At least you're not breaking anything, You're not being destructive. But those are Western methods, true. But, sometimes people say that it is some surge of energy has happened. So you divert that energy. And sometimes they even say, take a chakkar around your house. That calms you down.
Go out, have some fresh air.
Yeah. And to me, one of the very powerful thing is start doing some japa. If you have memorized some japa and you do it regularly, I know it's not that easy. If you have never done it for a long time, japa, then it doesn't come that easy. But if you have, then it can come.
The easiest thing is to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and close your fist.
Yeah. So each person can try their own method. The idea Krishna Bhagwan is telling you, don't come under the wave of it, right? उसका जो avalanche आ रहा है, उसको रोक दो तुम. अगर तुमने वो भी करना सीख लिया, तो बहुत बड़ी बात है. He's giving you that much, So I think we all have to think it through कि क्या करने से मेरा वो वेग मैं रोक सकती हूँ. And different tricks might work. True.
The technique of readjusting the inner instruments is beautifully summarized here by Lord Krishna. The very brevity and simplicity of this verse are the obstacles to our understanding its full import. The advice has a deceptive look of simplicity. Withstand the impulse of desire and anger. Then he is a yogi. Even while here before his death, the happy man. To a modern student of Freud and others, soaked with the ideas of behaviorism and such other modern superficialities of psychology, this may look rather an unscientific expression of a crude enthusiast. But when we analyze and try to grapple with its full import and implication, we shall see that it contains volumes of suggestions.
So because here he's talking about, more like desire and anger कहाँ से आता है? Because जितना क्या बोलना चाहिए research अपने ईस्टर्न फिलॉसफी में हुआ है माइंड के ऊपर उतना यहाँ पर बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. They look at things very superficially, and only from the physical perspective, brain and this and that, वो सब में they're big ustad. But mind is not just the brain, right? Brain is just an instrument through which the mind expresses. Mind is something, that's why we believe that when we drop our physical body, the mind travels to the other with all the impressions in it, to the other life. It's a very powerful instrument. So the science of desire and anger, which we have studied in the past, but Swamiji will open it up again here.
Desire is the avalanche of thoughts sweeping down from the pinnacles of our intellect along the valleys of our heart towards an object of desire in the outer world.
He's very poetic about it, because intellect I'm convinced I want this. That's why. So it is, emotions, intellect, सब कोई चीज चाहिए ना तो अपने सारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट अलाइन हो जाते हैं उसको पाने के लिए. That's what it is that he's talking about. Okay.
Mind is so powerful, it tries to convince you it is the right thing to do.
Yes.
Although it knows very well it is the wrong thing to do.
It will find excuses to justify it. True. Yes.
To one who has won over joy and grief and who has gained a certain amount of detachment.
Oh wait, you skipped part of that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Go back to the previous. You just read the one line, and then you have to go to when this avalanche of thought.
Okay, when this avalanche of thought is barricaded on its onward sweep by a substantial obstacle, ere it reaches its destination, the blast with which it shatters itself on that obstacle is called anger. It is these two types of thoughts that generally agitate our bosom. The greater the desire with which we ponder over an object, the greater shall be the anger against any obstacle that comes between us and our object of desire.
So we have studied this whole science before, right? That how that some obstacle comes, that is actually anger. So he's just saying that, and basically these are the two main things that agitate us, desire and anger. And then we had studied that desire और एंगर के साथ साथ फिर वो जेलसी ग्रीड ये वो सब वो भाई बहन ही है उसके but उसका मेन जो है ना वो डिजायर है.
To one who has won over joy and grief and who has gained a certain amount of detachment from external objects, to him desire for obtaining the pleasant or avoiding the unpleasant is no emotion at all. Where there is no desire within that bosom, hatred is as unknown alien factor there. Hatred is an unknown alien factor there. He who has gained mastery over these two impulses, no doubt powerful and almost irresistible, he is the one who can afford to live in this world of multiplicity and imperfection as an independent, solitary man of true and steady happiness. Thus Krishna assures Arjuna, and through Arjuna all others like us, who will read and try to understand this immortal scripture, that man can live perfectly happily even while in this form, among these very objects, in this very world, during this very life, if only in his spiritual evolution learns to renounce his impulses of desire and hatred.
So very nicely put that, even living in the world, because like sometimes we say, oh, you can only be happy like if you get away from this sansar, sit in some gufa and then those people. But that's not what Krishna Bhagavan is saying. Living in this very world with all the objects, all the people, everybody around you, and then we saw that the actual real way we can control this anger and this thing is if we get little more detached from this. So it is connected from the previous verses. You already said, दोष दृष्टि देखो, दोष दृष्टि दिखाई देगी तो हम लोग वैसे ही attached नहीं होंगे. तो फिर, we will not feel that desire for certain people to behave in certain way or get attached and all that, those things will get loosened up, basically, you know. And that's why this in America, you know, the road rage is there too, right? वो कोई जरा सा फास्ट नहीं चलाए, स्लो चला रहा है, हॉन्क करना शुरू कर देंगे, ये कर देंगे. So then you watch your own behavior, you know, that hey, are you getting irritated with small things, you know? That just the immediately, if that thought comes, say, hey, maybe that other person is having some issue, maybe an old person is driving, or you know, they might have some other problem going, you know. Then you don't get that irritated. The moment you think a little bit, you will not get.
And I think actually it helps a lot if you can put a time gap between anger and reaction. So one thing that I do is, that works for me, I start saying Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti.
See, that's a very powerful thing. Very powerful thing, yeah. So that's why I said whatever works, as long as you create that gap, because usually, no, हमारा वो anger 99% of the time a frivolous चीज पे होता है, you know, or things that we cannot control, you know. Then it's even after you get angry and all that burst and अपना BP को high कर लो, but वो चीज तो वैसे भी नहीं होने वाली है, तो why you worry? You know, so many different ways you can do it. Any other point anybody has? It's easy to said than done, for sure. But we can all try, definitely. I think that continuous satsang does help because we think about it and we try to do something about it. So there's this one line for the next, but we are already past time, so we won't go. What sort of a man resting in Brahman attains Brahman? There's more about meditation and all will come. Okay, shall we close Bhagavad Gita here? Prabhakar ji, you are muted. You want to say something? Try unmuting now. Say something. No, we can't hear. You know, your computer, something must have happened. Like, anybody has any suggestion to give Prabhakar ji what he can do? The voice?
Let him check his
log out and log in.
Yeah,
Log out or log in again.
while we are doing this prayer and going to that, do that, Prabhakar ji. Log out and log in again. Okay.
Check the volume.
Volume also you can check. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchah. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay.